Morning tea again. Morning tea again. Morning tea again. Sip, 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 sip.
Well, good morning, Greenville, and welcome to this episode of Morning Tea with Princess Ashley. Today, we have one of the coolest people on the show. Scott Evans is going to be here with us. So if you're watching this, you know that at 9:30, so in the half hour, he is going to be speaking at chapel. So make sure you watch the show and head over to chapel super fast so that you can hear him speak live, because I promise you won't regret it. So this week, what's going on? Not much. But next week, so a week from, or this Wednesday actually, the 22nd of October, starts the Set Free movement to only eat fair trade chocolate for a month. So if you don't know what that is, go ahead and you can contact Anna Brannon or Elise Cranston. They both are a part of the Set Free movement, and you can ask them what it's about. But it's pretty much people such as Hershey's or any of the big name chocolate factories use slavery. Most of them are child slaves in the factories overseas, and so that kind of chocolate is actually almost supporting that in a way. And so when you eat fair trade chocolate, you're eating chocolate made fairly, if that makes sense. I can't explain it very well, but I promise you to talk to Anna Brannon. She will know what she's talking about. So starting this Wednesday, the 22nd, make sure that you know what you're supporting. Also, not this weekend, but the next weekend, we are having homecoming. That's so exciting. So there's gonna be the parade, which will be on Friday, I believe. Maybe it's on Thursday. They haven't sent out information yet. But the parade is going to either be Thursday or Friday. There's going to be Powder Puff, which if you haven't signed up, you're going to want to talk to somebody right now because they've already had sign-ups. So get on your class team for Powder Puff. The tailgate for the football game and the soccer game starts at 11:30 on Saturday. So you can go out to the field and get your food if you're on the meal plan. Just show them your card and they'll mark you off and you'll get food for free. Well, I guess you're already paying for it, but still, it's food. And then that night will be the homecoming dance. They're trying to make it so it's here on campus. Not for sure if that's gonna happen yet. They do have a dance floor, so maybe it'll be on Scott Field. That'd be pretty exciting, right? Scott Field having a dance out there. But yeah, so that's what's happening this coming week in Greenville. So, we have a new segment for you called Jack Reacts. It's where we ask Jack Wing, foreign exchange student, different questions about either his culture, American culture, or just about anything that we want to, and then we catch his reaction. It's very fun, very exciting. Him and some other digital media in that field students went to Chicago for a film festival, and we got some of this footage, so check it out.
Sip, sip. Sip, sip.
Jack, what did you think about the Chicago International Film Festival?
I think that festival is awesome because it gives you like a bunch of choices for different films from different countries, but it's not really a good place for the festival, I guess. Yeah, because my friends got like mugged by someone and I have to pay $20 to, solve the problem. Well, it was raining, like really bad. And then we were just walking on the street. We were like stopping in like a corner of like a store to hide from the rain, and there are like two dudes, or there's one dude coming up. He was just like saying a bunch of words about my friend's boots, like how awesome they are, like how shiny they look like. And he just kneeled down trying to polish my friend's boots. I guess my friend's apparently, he's satisfaction of like how beautiful his booth is. Whatever, I don't know. Like he just definitely feel really awesome because that dude was like saying his booth is awesome. He let him polish his boots, and then he said, "I don't have any cash to pay you, man." But then the guy who polished his shoes said, "There's an ATM right there by the drugstore." So they went, and apparently the dude, my friend, has to go with him to pay him like cash. So I don't want my friend get mug or something. It's alone and it's in Chicago and it's raining. So I went with him. Then he went to ATM with his debit card, but he forgot his PIN, so he couldn't get like any cash out of it. So I gave my friend $5. I said, dude, just give him the cash and leave. And then when he gave him $5, the dude said it's $8 per shoe, which is 16 in total for a pair. And then I said, this is like crap, like I was like, this is really bull crap. Like seriously, $8 per shoe. And then my friend said, do you have $20? I can pay you later. I was like, all right, dude, here's $20. And then my friend gave him $20. And he's expecting the dude give him change, but then the dude just walk away.
I think it sounds to me like your friend and this shoe polisher were in cahoots.
Right.
They did this to get $25 from you.
$20 actually.
You gave him $5, you said. And
no, he gave the $5 back.
Oh,
$5
okay.
back.
Okay.
Well, if it's 25, he matters.
Do you think that only happens in Chicago?
No, I know it happens everywhere.
So, what was your favorite film?
I would say Dr. Protocol's Fart Powder is a Norwegian film. It's pretty funny. I mean, I like it. It's pretty much like a cartoon, but the plot is good and everything about it is like the rhythm and everything just like looks really comfortable and like fits with the topic.
So what was the worst film that you saw?
I would say Bazaar, which is an American film.
Bizarre? Buzzer.
Oh, Buzzer, I'm sorry. Yeah, Buzzer. Well, it's pretty bizarre when you watch that. The dude is from Michigan, and then he said, no, it's nothing to do with Michigan. There's nothing to do with Michigan for you guys who are from Michigan. Like it talks about like a dude who works in a mortgage company who's like taking advantage of the company by like sending all the checks he's supposed to send to himself by like writing his name on it. So like apparently he thinks the company, his employer is never gonna find out. But then he figured out they have a way to find out where the checks are sent to. So he freaked out. He hid to his friend's basement, and like the whole story is just like really simple. I mean the plot is fine. I understand it, but like there's one part he was like escaping, and he was trying to use money from the checks. He was like sitting on this hotel's bed with like a bathing suit and eating a $20 spaghetti with like 5 giant meatballs and a bag of like Dorito chips, ranch flavor. And then he's just like 5 minutes straight off that show, he's eating that spaghetti like really gross way. Like he's just like.
Alright, so we went up over Columbus Day, which is a ridiculous American holiday. Who discovered China?
Jake, it's a really hard question because I have no idea who did that. China was there. Like our history book said us it was there. Like in Bible said, God said there's water. So it's probably God said there's China.
Which day was that?
Probably the 6th day of I mean, but like my personal opinion about like Columbus Day or like Columbus, I think it's like he's not a jerk, but like he what he did really like help like to kind of promote the relationships between the Indians and the Native Americans and stuff.
Promote the relationship?
Well, yes, he
enslaved.
Yeah, I know he does, but like that was the way you did in that time, right?
Yeah,
like when you're trying to sell that new culture and a new idea to the Native Americans, like, and they don't listen to you, you gotta do a way that you have to do, even though it's like really bloody and like dark and sturdy. Like you said, somebody gotta do the dirty work. History is not always clean. So there you go.
All right, good. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Alright.
Sip, 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 sip.
Welcome back, Greenville. Today we have none other than Scott Evans. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with us today.
Yeah, delighted that I could.
We're excited to get to know a little bit more about you and who you are, and yeah. So, my question, what kind of culture did you grow up in? Because you're obviously not from here. As soon as you open your mouth, everyone can tell.
Well, that's funny because at home they think I have an American accent. They don't think I have an Irish accent.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me your best what? Because you know that you don't, right?
Yeah.
So give me your best American accent.
Well, it's impossible. It's impossible to just do an American accent because you have to pick a region. You have to pick like a.
Well, it's true.
And so you can do the shrill Valley Girl thing.
Yeah, pick it.
Pick it.
Yeah, go.
Like, oh my god, my favorite princess is pumpkin spice latte princess. And yeah, that's where you can do the southern drawl stuff. I've met a variety of accents all over.
So how long have you been around the States then? Because if back home they think you have an American accent.
So my American accent came from the American high school that I went to in Bangladesh for 8 years. So I moved there when I was 7 and lived there till I was 15.
Wow, okay, so tell me about that culture then. Like, you grew up in Ireland, going to an American school. What was that like?
Well, yeah, so, being an Irish person, so I guess I was up to what your equivalent of first or second grade would be. First grade in Ireland. And then moved to Bangladesh and went to an American school from 5th grade to 10th grade. And so, it was such a massive culture shock. You're going from nominally Catholic Ireland to passionately Muslim part of the world that's stricken by poverty, corruption, so many different things that affect Bangladeshi life on a day-to-day basis. So, even things like the call to prayer was something that I kind of still miss. And funny, they don't speak Arabic in Bangladesh, but when I hear people speak Arabic, there's a part of it that feels a little bit of fun. Yeah, and even just the way that people communicate in Islamic culture is so forceful and passionate. But when you don't know the words, that can come across as quite scary. But it's not at all. It's just this. I was in Indiana a few days ago, and we were actually we were chatting to a guy we met at a restaurant. He's a young Arabic guy. He grew up in Saudi, but he moved to the US about 4 years ago. And he said that the funniest thing to watch in a restaurant is two Arabic guys fighting over who's going to pay, and it sounds like they're really against each other, but actually they're fighting in order to be generous with each other. And so even an act of generosity, and so an act of generosity can actually look like something that's hostile, but it actually isn't at all. It's just the power with which people speak.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that was that culture.
Yeah, and and you meet some of the most caring and amazing people in the world who, even though they have, in many parts, have very, very little, would do absolutely anything for you. An incredible culture of hospitality and of kindness. It was beautiful as well because in Bangladesh, you would have very often people employ servants in their houses. And it's because, there's 130 million people living in Bangladesh, or at least there was when I was there, and it's so many more now. But because the place is so packed, because it's only twice the size of Ireland, it's a very, very small country, there's not exactly high employment, and there wasn't a lot going on. So we would employ servants who lived in our house, but they actually lived with us and became part of our lives. So she was called an ayah, which is like a combination of like a maid and a nanny for my little sister, and she became such a part of our family. And then she had a son, and Toby became part of our lives, and my little sister actually named him Toby, and we used to play with him in the garden, just have this incredible relationship.
Just another family member.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was beautiful getting to have that part of Bangladeshi culture, that you were actually living with Bangladeshis, and you saw them every day. They were part of your life. It was great.
That's beautiful. So everyone should visit Bangladesh.
If you get a chance, apparently it's changed a lot since I've been there. I left there 16 years ago.
So where is your home base now?
Kind of Ireland.
Kind of.
Kind of. I split my year. So
Okay.
so this year I started off in Ireland. I was in Ireland until mid-February, and then I was in Canada until mid-May, with 2 weeks in Texas and Tennessee in the middle of that, and then spent the summer at home in Ireland, aside from a week in Canada speaking in August, and then I left at the end of September to come here to the US until mid-December.
Wow, and so during your time in the US, are you just bouncing around from place to place?
Yeah.
So you live the life of a nomad.
Yeah. I'm
Wow.
just and it's brilliant. Like, you know, it's like, and, you know, like when I'm here at Greenville, I get to stay in, you know, with the president and the first lady,
Who are wonderful.
who are wonderful, amazing people,
Yeah.
and who actually I know where they lived in Bangladesh. I mean, in Ireland. Like my girlfriend's sister lives in the same housing estate that they lived in for years. Like, so it's not just, I don't just know what town it was. Like, there's the. So we actually when Catherine and I first met, we realized we had mutual friends on Facebook, because that's how small the world is. We'd never met before. I'd never been here before. I'd never met.
But here in the small town of Greenville, Illinois.
I met friends of friends. Yeah, the world is small.
The
world's
world
amazing.
is small. So I do want to know though, how the heck did you end up in Greenville? Like, how did you get connected? We are a tiny school full of wonderful people, but still, how did you get connected with Greenville?
It's been just part of the magic and the madness of this journey. I've been full-time writing and speaking since 2012, and so. But the seeds for that kind of came from 2008. I went to speak at a Nazarene Youth Conference in Ukraine, and a girl heard me speak there, and she was in studying in, most people probably haven't heard of it, it's called the Black Forest Academy. It's on the Swiss-German border. So it's a school for Mish kids, basically.
Okay.
And so her parents were missionaries in Poland. And so we met at this thing in Ukraine. She heard my seminars and she was like, "Oh, we'd love if you would come and speak at my school." So I was speaking in Germany anyway for a week. Went down, hung out there for a couple of days and spoke in her school. And then she ended up at Northwest Nazarene University in Idaho. And then she convinced their committee that was picking retreat speakers to pick me. So they had to go like behind, I didn't realize, but there was this whole conversation going on internationally behind my back to get references for me and all this sort of stuff. And someone very kindly wrote me a reference, and it opened up doors for me to be there. And then I was looking at opening myself up to doing more and more stuff in the US, and the chaplain from NNU is very good friends with Laurie Gaffner, and so he recommended me.
So from one thing to the next, so crazy spider web how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful though.
And nothing official, no official channels. It's all just relationship and and hopefully, I guess, earning the right to do it and earning the right to be recommended and kind of, you know, trusting God that He'll open up doors, and so that's been a big part of this. So now this is my third time here. Yeah, I've been here
third time.
every year since.
And you know you're kind of like a celeb here on campus. Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw today, but the chapel was packed. It's not normally packed.
Well, I mean, I have no frame of reference for that.
So people obviously have heard you spoke, spread it around to their friends, and people want to hear you. So.
Well, and that's very kind of people.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's great to come to a place and know that your words are at least causing people to ask questions, and then, you know, even things like, you know, like doing the talk was great this morning, but I think probably better than that was showing up in Edinburgh and sitting down and having a coffee with students and actually getting the chance to talk, you know, deep in real life.
So you're not so much into performances, which is like being on a stage, but you love the individual talks.
I mean, that makes me sound very. I mean, I love spoken word. So like the chance to get up and just be able to share like my passion through speech and through that is just such an amazing thing to get the chance to do. Like, and I have so much fun doing it, as I'm sure you could tell when I took my belt off and bound my Bible to my head in the middle of a talk. I'm sure people thought I was, you know, I'm sure they didn't know what I was doing. And so I love that part of it. I love seeing people's eyes go wide. And go, I've never seen something like that, I've thought about it like that before, this is relevant to me in a way that I didn't
You like to evoke thought into people.
Absolutely. But the danger is that I mean, I guess I could do that and then I could go back to my room, you know, and just kind of, you know, hang out and watch Netflix all day, which I want to do, you know, like when I went back, had a shower and watched some Netflix this afternoon just to bring my levels back down.
I hear ya.
But, you know, I mean, I think particularly with young men, one of the I feel like we as young men, we have a lot of role models that will get put up on a pulpit, but we don't necessarily have the chance to actually sit down and talk real life and actually ask deep questions and really share stories together. I think sometimes it doesn't really exist as much in Christian culture. And so getting the chance to particularly hang out with young men and actually have deep conversations is a real privilege for me. So I love getting the chance to go play FIFA in dorms, you know, and just sit and talk about life and shoot the breeze, and then hopefully then the next time you speak, then people listen in a different way because they feel like they know you a little bit more. So I don't know. It's something I'm trying to build into what I do, so that I'm not just.
So you're trying to I told you my goal for the end of this season or the end of the next season is to be on Ellen.
Right.
So people will tell me like, Ashley, why would you do that? But you're trying to put yourself in that place where you're like, I want to be available. Like people see me as this role model, as this person up here, but I don't want to just be up here. I want to be living life with them. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm very aware, like, because we used to run events in Ireland where we would get speakers in from overseas, and you know, they very often people will come in and do a great job, but the people that you always remember and the people who have the longest impact are the people who actually spend the time outside of the event, really getting to know people and really letting themselves be known.
Right.
And I always felt that was a beautiful. I mean, sometimes you get someone in and they'd have an intern with them and they'd be like, yeah, you ask them a tough question, the intern would be like, who do you think you're talking to? You know, like getting outraged on their behalf. And this kind of, because I think Christian culture, like we have our own celebrities, like we have our own people that we put up on a pedestal and we say, you know, they're the person who tells me what is true.
John Piper, I mean, who can talk to him, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's unapproachable, and he and I would go toe to toe on most issues. But I guess I'm kind of wary of that, and I also know that every single one of us has a broken desire to be loved and to be acclaimed and to have, I think, a negative amount of spotlight on ourselves, and I see that within myself. And I think reminding myself that on the pulpit is not the only place where life is lived is really important for my disciplines. So I guess that's the journey I'm on, of trying to figure out that balance. Try not to burn myself out on the way, because you do need time by yourself, and the older I get, the more I realise the more time I need. But at the same time, you know, yeah.
So making sure that you are choosing your time carefully.
Yeah.
That's great. So I know you mentioned you have a girlfriend, and you've been dating her for 4 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you haven't even got her a ring or anything yet. Tell me, I guess that's so not what I grew up knowing or what I've seen in my culture today. So,
well, recently,
what's with that?
My dad and I we went out to buy my mum earrings for her birthday, and so he'd left the jeweler's receipt in my car, and then she got into my car and saw this when I wasn't in the car.
Oh no!
And she was, but you know what her first response was? Anger. She was furious. She was like, "I swear, if he bought me a ring, like I'll be furious."
Why?
Because she was like, "I don't have time for this in my life right now."
So she's not ready either.
She has no interest in being married.
So it's both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing, like, she's just done her degree in music. She's done her teacher training, and she's just got her first job as a teacher, and she's doing incredible stuff.
And you're living a nomad life.
Well, that, but like, because even if I was at home in a steady job, I don't think she'd be interested in that, because she has her own fierce and passionate dreams as the woman that God has called her to be, and. One day, I think, one day she'd love to get married and have kids and all that kind of stuff. But right now, like, she's exploring that calling. And marriage, I think, right now would be a distraction from that. You know, like, there's a freedom that comes with being single, but I think we take for granted. And people spend their whole lives wishing it away instead of doing something with the freedom that offers. Like, I think we don't take Paul seriously in 1 Corinthians when he says, I wish that everybody could be as I am. And that, by which he means single. Now, whether that's he definitely would have been married as a Pharisee, because in order to be a Pharisee, you have to obey the command of be fruitful and multiply. So he probably had kids and he probably was married. Now, whether or not she left, whether or not he left her, whether or not there was some sort of tragedy, different writers offer different suggestions, but he was certainly single by the time he wrote 1 Corinthians.
Right.
But he has this freedom that comes from not being in a relationship to pursue the ministry that God has given him. And I think for myself and for my girlfriend, we both feel that, and that one day, that if we pursue our dreams and pursue the callings that we feel God has given us and the talents that we believe he's given us, that one day, by pursuing these things now, we will, if we get married in the future, we'll be able to offer each other us established in our callings, rather than trying to figure out, well, how would we couldn't afford a wedding, we couldn't afford a house together, we couldn't afford any of those things. So immediately we'd be putting ourselves on the back foot going, okay, well, we've got to just figure out
how to survive.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, most people spend so much of life surviving, they have no idea how to thrive. And I want to, eventually, if I do get married, and if we do get married, I want it to be about us being who God has called us to be in our different spheres, that we join together in the midst of that. So, it's one of the things I love about her is she's so strong-willed, she's so disciplined, she's so passionate, and she's so good at what she does. Like, it's amazing. And right now, I would hate for our relationship to be a distraction from that, because it's such a key and crucial part of her life.
Okay, so my last question. Who's your favorite princess and why?
I mean, I don't have a huge catalogue of princesses that I'm aware of. Any type of princess.
Any type of princess.
Still doesn't particularly broaden my mind to other examples.
Anything.
I have so little frames of reference for this. The only one that I can think of is horrendous. But Christina dragged me to see Frozen last year, right? So what's the younger one's name? Anna, yeah. It helps with the fact that she's played by Kristen Bell, I think, who I think is just hilarious. And speaking of Ellen, I love the bit with the sloths. It's just an amazing moment.
I know. That's one of my favorite clips that she has. So,
yeah, it's tremendous. But I love the idea of. Princesses are great, right? But there's the danger that they play the same role in our culture as fashion models, and just somebody to be looked at. Somebody who, it's great that they're present for the sake of my eyes, but I wouldn't want her to speak for the sake of my ears. And I think that's a really destructive way in which we dehumanize women. What I love about her is that her dress doesn't get in the way of her life. And she's so alive within that, and that being celebrated or being royalty doesn't get in the way of her having fun. From what I remember of the story.
Yeah. You should watch Snow White.
I can guarantee I won't. But
okay, well you should. Whether you will or not is irrelevant. You should watch Snow White.
I have too much supernatural to catch up on.
Snow White has, she runs into the woods. She's being chased by her stepmother. She runs into the woods and befriends 7 dwarfs. And I think that is a beautiful picture of Christ. How he befriends the ugly.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you were going to say that Christ was the dwarf.
No, Christ is Snow White and we are the dwarfs. And so I strive. She's my role model, let me tell you. I want to be Snow White.
That's horrendous. I've never thought of them as ugly before.
Oh, they're dwarfs. They're the outcasts. Why do you think they're living in a cabin in the woods amongst no other humans? Nobody wants them around.
That's true. I guess they're living in a world of stigma, and she comes and redeems that. That's very beautiful.
So when you look at it that way, it's a whole different world.
Okay. Well, thankfully I've seen it before, so I'm aware.
So you do know what happened. That part of the story.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate you opening up your life and letting us take a peek in.
My pleasure.
You're speaking today, actually in chapel, Friday morning, 9:30. So as soon as you're finished watching this, go to chapel so that you can see Scott talk. Anyways, thank you so much, and have a magical day, Greenville.
Morning tea again. Morning tea again. Morning tea again. Sip, 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 sip.